Day 1. A strange feeling. Today, I've had a strange sense of unease all day. There's no obvious reason. I went to work, came home, and everything seemed normal. But something is off. This evening after dinner, my wife Laura mentioned she ran into an old friend, Jason, at the supermarket. She was telling me casually about it, how they used to know each other back in college, and how surprised she was to see him. She laughed in this peculiar way while describing their chat. It wasn't her usual laugh. There was a nervous energy to it. I noticed an unusual sparkle in her eyes and a flush on her cheeks as she spoke his name. It could be nothing, but it stirred an instinctive worry in me. Maybe I'm overthinking. Laura and I have been married for 13 years, and we've built a beautiful family here in Michigan. We have a 13-year-old daughter, Emily, and our life together has always been based on trust. I've never had reason to doubt her before. Still, I can't shake this vague anxiety that started creeping in when she mentioned Jason. Why am I feeling this way? Nothing actually happened that I know of. Maybe it's just insecurity or the monotony of everyday life making me paranoid. I keep telling myself there's no real cause for alarm. Laura has old friends just as I do. Running into someone by chance and chatting shouldn't mean anything. I almost feel guilty for the brief flicker of jealousy I felt. Yet here I am, lying in bed with an unsettled mind while Laura sleeps peacefully beside me. I can hear the soft rhythm of her breathing in the dark. Normally that sound is comforting, but tonight it's doing nothing to quiet my thoughts. I hope this feeling is just a fleeting case of nerves. Perhaps tomorrow I'll forget all about it. For now, I'll try to get some sleep and push these irrational worries away. Day 5. Second encounter. It's been a few days since that odd feeling started. I had nearly convinced myself I was imagining things, until today. This afternoon, I overheard Laura talking on the phone with her best friend Megan while I was in the next room. I wasn't intentionally eavesdropping, but I clearly heard Laura laugh and say Jason's name again. She sounded excited, reminiscing about some old memory. Remember that time Jason did that hilarious dance at prom? And Jason always knew how to make me smile. Her tone was light and happy, almost too happy. Hearing his name in our home again sent a jolt of discomfort through me. That nagging anxiety from day one came rushing back, stronger now. I found myself straining to catch bits of the conversation. Laura mentioned she bumped into him again at a calf a couple of days ago, and they ended up chatting over coffee. Megan must have teased her because I heard Laura playfully protest. "Oh, stop, it's not like that. He's just an old friend." They both laughed. I felt my stomach twist. Another chance meeting? What are the odds of randomly bumping into this old friend twice in 1 week? Maybe it's a small-town coincidence. We do live in a suburban community where people's paths cross often. But I can't ignore how animated she sounded talking about him, or that she hadn't mentioned this second encounter to me at all until I overheard it. When I walked into the room, Laura looked a bit startled, like she hadn't expected me. She quickly ended the call with Megan, saying, "We'll chat later." There was a brief awkwardness between us. I casually asked, "Everything okay?" She smiled and said, "Yes, of course." Megan was just being silly. I wanted so badly to ask, "So you ran into Jason again?" But I hesitated. Part of me was afraid of coming off as jealous or controlling. Laura has always been trustworthy. I never wanted to be the husband who polices his wife's friendships. Still, that uneasy feeling is more pronounced now. I spent the rest of the day trying to act normal, but inside my mind was racing. Why didn't she tell me she saw Jason again? Why mention it to her friend and not to me? Perhaps she thought I might misunderstand. Or perhaps there's more to it than she's admitting. I hate that I'm even considering these possibilities. After so many years of marriage, I never imagined I'd be suspecting my wife of, well, I don't even know what I'm suspecting exactly. An affair? It feels unreal to even write that, but I can't deny that something doesn't feel right. I pray that I'm wrong, that this is all in my head. Tonight, I hugged Laura a little tighter than usual, searching for reassurance. She hugged me back warmly, but my heart still wasn't at ease. I hope this passes soon. I just want to go back to feeling secure and happy like before. Day 9. Suspicious little things. The past few days have been a slow drip of subtle, suspicious little things. Individually, each might be trivial. Together, they're painting a worrisome picture. I've noticed Laura is on her phone more than usual lately. She's been texting frequently and then clearing her notifications. Whenever I walk into the room, she quickly locks her screen or puts the phone face down on the table. We used to be so open with our devices, leaving phones lying around without a second thought. Now it feels like she's guarding hers like it holds state secrets. For instance, last night we were sitting on the couch. Her phone buzzed and she glanced at it, then immediately flipped it over so I couldn't see the screen. She smiled to herself. That same faintly nervous smile I caught on day 1. I pretended not to notice, but inside I felt a pang of dread. Who was that? Was it Jason? Why wouldn't she just be open about it if it's innocent? She's also been a bit more distant, or maybe preoccupied. Don't get me wrong. Day to day, she's still kind and caring with me and Emily. But I sense her mind drifting at times. Yesterday during dinner, she seemed lost in thought and didn't hear Emily ask her a question until the 3rd time. Small things like that, her attention is elsewhere. When I ask if she's okay, she says she's just tired or stressed from work. I find myself second-guessing everything. Part of me wants to grab her phone and see what's going on, but I hate the idea of snooping. I've always believed trust is fundamental. I've never needed to invade her privacy. Doing so would feel like crossing a line. And yet, here I am, dying of curiosity and fear. Late at night, I lie in bed wondering if I'm being naive. The signs are there. The secretive phone habits, the sudden reappearance of this Jason guy, the way she lights up talking about him. I keep cycling between denial and suspicion. One minute, I decide I'm imagining it all, and I berate myself for being paranoid. The next minute, I'm convinced something improper is happening behind my back. This internal tug-of-war is exhausting. I haven't confronted Laura about any of it yet. What would I even say? Honey, you seem happy talking to an old friend. How dare you? That sounds ridiculous. I need something more concrete before I risk a confrontation that could damage our marriage if I'm wrong. For now, I'm watching and waiting. It feels awful, like a dark cloud looming over otherwise ordinary days. I hope I get clarity one way or another soon, because this uncertainty is eating at me. Day 14. A strange message. Tonight, I saw something that made my heart stop. It was just for an instant, but I can't get it out of my head. Laura left her phone on the kitchen counter when she went to help Emily with homework. As I was passing by, the screen lit up with a new text. My eyes caught the preview of the message before I even realized what I was looking at. It was from Jason. The preview read, "Thank you for yesterday. It was great." I literally felt my heart slam against my chest. In that split second, 1,000 thoughts exploded in my mind. Thank you for yesterday? What happened yesterday? Laura had told me she went shopping and then took a walk in the park in the afternoon. I remember because I offered to join her, and she insisted on going alone, saying she needed some personal time. The sickening realization hit me. She must have met Jason, and it was great. Oh God. That strongly suggests something far beyond a friendly chat. My hands started trembling. I didn't see the rest of the message because the phone was locked and went dark again. I stood there, staring at the blank screen, adrenaline surging through me. A part of me wanted to pick up the phone, unlock it, if I could, and read everything. But I was paralyzed by shock and, frankly, a sense of dread. I was afraid to confirm what I was now almost certain of. Laura walked back into the kitchen a moment later. I must have looked strange, frozen in place, probably pale as a ghost. She glanced at me and then at her phone on the counter. For a fraction of a second, I thought I saw panic in her eyes, but she quickly gave me a mild smile. Everything okay? She asked casually. I somehow mustered a reply. Yeah, yeah, I'm fine. Just lost in thought. I stepped away, my mind racing. She picked up her phone, and out of the corner of my eye, I saw her face as she read whatever Jason sent. Her lips pressed together, and she hurriedly tapped a response or perhaps deleted the message. I'm not sure. I pretended to be busy pouring a glass of water, heart pounding so loudly I swore it was audible. That message is burned into my mind now. There's no more denying what's happening. I haven't confronted her yet because I feel like my world just tilted, and I need a moment to collect myself. I also perversely want to see if she'll say something on her own, confess, or at least come up with a lie about where she really was yesterday. But all through dinner and putting Emily to bed, Laura acted normal, maybe a bit quieter than usual, but said nothing about Jason or anything out of the ordinary. Now I'm sitting here alone with my thoughts, and it's agonizing. I realize this can't continue much longer. I'm going to have to talk to her, probably very soon, but I need to do it calmly. As enraged and betrayed as I feel right now, I also feel an overwhelming sadness. 13 years of marriage, and it might all come crashing down because of one old flame rekindled. How did we get here? I feel anger bubbling up too. Anger at Jason for texting my wife like that. Anger at Laura for putting us in this situation. And anger at myself for not confronting this sooner. I want to scream, to break something, but I won't. I have to stay composed, especially for Emily's sake. She has no idea any of this is going on. I'm going to try to sleep, though I doubt I'll manage much. Tomorrow, I need a plan. I can't live with this suspicion confirmed by that message, not without addressing it. I deserve to know the full truth of what happened yesterday that was so great. Day 18. A difficult conversation. I couldn't take the silence and doubts any longer. Tonight, I finally confronted Laura. It was one of the hardest conversations of my life, and even now I'm shaking as I write this. All day at work, I was a mess, distracted, heart-pounding whenever I replayed that text in my head. By the time I got home, I knew I had to speak up. Emily was at a friend's house for a sleepover tonight. Thank God for that timing. So it was just Laura and me after dinner. We sat in the living room and I could barely look at her without my chest tightening. She sensed something was off because I wasn't my talkative self. Finally, I took a deep breath and broke the quiet. Laura, I said, trying to keep my voice steady, I need to ask you something, and I want you to be honest with me. She looked at me with those wide green eyes I've loved for years, and for a moment, I almost lost my resolve. But I remembered the text and pushed forward. What's really going on between you and Jason? I asked plainly. Her reaction was immediate, a flash of surprise, then a defensive smile. What do you mean? Nothing's going on. I told you we just caught up for coffee that day. Her tone was light, but her eyes darted away from mine. I felt my temper flare, my pulse in my ears. I managed to stay calm in my words, but they came out more strained. Are you sure about that? Because I have this gut feeling that it's not just coffee. You've been acting different, Laura. Distant. Secretive with your phone. I saw a message from Jason. Her face changed when I mentioned the message. The color drained from her cheeks. She opened her mouth as if to speak, but no words came out for a second. She recovered slightly and tried to maintain her calm facade. David, you looked at my phone? She asked, sounding more hurt than angry. I didn't go through it, I said quickly. It lit up while you were out of the room. I saw a preview, that's it. And it said, thanks for yesterday, it was great. My voice cracked on that last part despite myself. Laura's eyes filled with panic. She stood up, rubbing her palms on her jeans nervously. "It's not what you think," she began, voice shaking. I stood up too. My knees felt weak. "Then what is it? Help me understand. Because from where I'm standing, it looks an awful lot like you've been meeting him behind my back." I tried so hard to keep my voice even, but I could hear the betrayal seeping through. She started to cry, tears welling up. "We did meet a few times, but it was just as friends. We were just catching up and reminiscing, I swear." I pressed, "Then why hide it from me? Why all the secret texts, the lying about where you were?" My voice rose despite my intentions. Hearing myself, I took a step back and ran a hand through my hair, trying to steady my breathing. I didn't want to explode in rage. I just wanted the truth. Laura was openly crying now. "I'm sorry," she choked out. "I didn't mean to lie. I just, I enjoyed talking with him and I knew you wouldn't like it, so I—" She cut herself off, realizing how bad that sounded. She wiped her eyes. I felt a surge of bitterness. "So you did it behind my back instead. Great solution." I couldn't help the slight sarcasm and hurt in my tone. She stepped toward me, reaching for my hand, but I pulled away. I couldn't bear to be touched by her at that moment. She began to protest. "David, please, it wasn't an affair, not really. We met for coffee a couple times, that's all." I looked right into her eyes and said quietly, "Don't lie to me, Laura. I saw that text. Thanks for yesterday, it was great." "That doesn't sound like just coffee. What happened yesterday?" Laura's face contorted between guilt and fear. She opened her mouth, but no immediate answer came. She knew she was caught, yet she still seemed unable to confess. That hurt almost as much as the betrayal itself. I realized she might not tell me the full truth unless pressed. But at that moment, I was emotionally overwhelmed. I just shook my head and said, "I can't do this right now. I need to clear my head." My voice was thick. Without waiting for her reply, I grabbed my jacket and walked out of the house. It was dark outside, a chilly Michigan spring night. I walked for a long time through our neighborhood, the cool air hitting my tear-streaked face. "Yes," I cried once I was out of the house. Everything inside me was a whirlwind of hurt and anger. I must have walked several miles, under the soft glow of streetlights and through the quiet park where I often take Emily on weekends. I tried to make sense of things. How could she do this? Why did she do this? Was it something I did or didn't do? Have I been a bad husband in some way I didn't realize? By the time I got back home, it was late. Laura was sitting on the couch, eyes red from crying, waiting for me. I said barely anything. "I'm going to bed," I muttered. She nodded silently. We slept in the same bed, but as far apart as possible, backs turned to each other. I felt her shaking with quiet sobs at one point in the night. I was awake, staring at the dark, feeling like the person I trusted most in the world was suddenly a stranger. Tonight's conversation was heavy and painful, but oddly, I feel a small sense of grim relief that the issue is finally in the open, at least partially. She knows I know something is going on. There's no going back to pretending everything's fine. One way or another, we have to address this, fully and soon. Day 22. The confession Laura and I finally had the talk that's been building up, and she confessed everything. I'm reeling from it. Even when you suspect something, hearing it confirmed out loud by the person you love is a punch to the gut that knocks the wind out of you. This morning, Laura approached me in the kitchen after Emily left for school. She looked exhausted, like she hadn't slept in days. I know I haven't. I was sipping coffee, bracing myself for whatever would come next between us. In a small, broken voice, she said, "David, we need to talk. Please." We sat at the table, and she immediately started to tear up. "I have to tell you the truth." "About Jason," she said, voice trembling. I just nodded silently, my heart thudding. She took a deep breath. Then the words came tumbling out in a flood of remorse. She admitted that her relationship with Jason did cross the line of friendship. They had met for coffee a few times, as she said, but it didn't stop there. A week ago, that would have been yesterday from the day 14 entry, they met up, and as she put it, one thing led to another. She confessed that they kissed, and then spent the afternoon together in a way that went too far. She wouldn't look me in the eyes as she said it, but I knew exactly what she meant. My worst fears were true. She had slept with him. As she confessed, tears were pouring down her cheeks. It was a huge mistake, she sobbed. I don't even know why. I wasn't thinking. I feel so awful, David. I'm so sorry. She went on, rambling through her guilt. How she hated herself for hurting me. How she ended things with Jason immediately after that day because she knew it was wrong. How it only happened once. She insisted, it was just that one time, I swear to you. And it meant nothing. It was just stupid and physical and... She broke off, wiping her nose, her whole body shaking. I was silent for a long time, letting her words hang in the air. My eyes were fixed on a knot in the wooden table because I couldn't bear to look at her right then. I felt cold. Numb. In the back of my mind, some part of me had already assumed she slept with him after seeing that message. But hearing it confirmed still hit me like a truck. My hands were clenched into fists under the table, nails digging into my palms. I realized I'd been holding my breath and finally let it out unsteadily. When I finally spoke, my voice sounded distant, even to me. Why? Was all I could croak out at first. I swallowed and tried again, a bit stronger. Why did you do it, Laura? Was it something I did? Something I didn't do? I thought we were happy. Or at least, I thought we were okay. My voice cracked on that last word. It's so hard to articulate the million questions and emotions swirling inside into a few sentences. She shook her head frantically. It wasn't you. You've been a good husband. It was never about you or anything you did. She took a shuddering breath. I was just, I don't know, I was feeling old or restless or something. When I ran into Jason, it was like reliving a piece of my youth. We were close friends back in college, and catching up with him felt exciting, like I was 20 again, with no worries. I got caught up in it. I know that's not an excuse, but I need you to know it wasn't because of you. I wasn't looking to hurt you. I was just being selfish and stupid. Her explanation sort of made sense, and yet didn't at all. We all feel nostalgic at times, but acting on it like this? I couldn't wrap my head around it. And the mention of feeling old or restless cut me deeply. Was our life together so dull that she'd throw away our trust for a spark of youth? I asked quietly, did you ever love him? Perhaps it was masochistic to ask, but I had to know. She shook her head vehemently. No, I mean not really. I care about him as a friend, or I did, but I love you. Only you. I never stopped loving you, David. She reached out to touch my hand on the table. I didn't pull away this time, but I felt myself go stiff. Her hand on mine felt both familiar and horribly alien. I regret it the second it happened, she continued, voice cracking. I told him it was a mistake and that we couldn't talk anymore. I blocked his number after that message you saw. I didn't know how to tell you. I was terrified of losing you and Emily. I thought maybe I could pretend it never happened, but when you confronted me, I knew I had to come clean. There was a long silence between us, aside from her sniffling. I just kept staring at our hands, her slender fingers resting on my clenched fist. My eyes were burning with tears I refused to let fall. I finally asked, are you still in contact with him at all? No, she whispered. I cut it off. I haven't spoken to him since that day. He tried to reach out a couple of times, but I ignored him. I swear. I believed that she was remorseful, maybe even that she cut it off, but the damage was done. I slowly drew my hand back from under hers and rubbed my face, trying to collect myself. It's strange. In that moment, a part of me actually felt sorry for her, seeing how utterly broken and desperate she looked. But another part of me was screaming that I was the one who'd been betrayed. I was the one whose life was shattered. Laura kept saying she was sorry, over and over, like a broken record. "I'll do anything to fix this," she pleaded. "We can go to counseling. I'll earn back your trust. Just please don't leave. Please." She was crying so hard she could barely speak those last words. Seeing her like that, the mother of my child, my partner of so many years, in absolute agony, it twisted me up inside. I never wanted to hurt her, despite what she'd done. I had to fight every instinct to rush over and hold her just to stop her pain. But I knew I couldn't just sweep this under the rug with a hug and a promise. I was calm when I responded, but my voice was hollow. "Laura, I hear how sorry you are, and I believe you regret it. But you broke something. You broke us. I just, I don't know if this can be fixed." My own tears finally started falling then. I couldn't keep them in any longer. "You were my person, the one I trusted completely. How am I supposed to get past this?" She cried even harder, repeating how she would do whatever it takes. She said she would understand if I hated her, but begged me not to make any decisions yet. "Please, just think about Emily," she sobbed. "Think about our family. I know I messed up, but I want to make it right. I'll wait as long as you need. Just don't give up on us, please." At the mention of our daughter, I felt another stab of pain. Emily. Our innocent girl who has no idea her world might be torn apart. We sat there crying together at the table, the enormity of the situation heavy on both of us. I didn't give Laura any answer or promise. I just told her I needed time to think and that for now I can't make any decisions. We spoke a bit more practically after calming down, about keeping this between us for now, especially not letting it slip around Emily until we figure out what to do. We agreed to try to act as normal as possible around her in the meantime. The fact that Laura even has to say that breaks my heart. This is our reality now, putting on a brave face for our child while our marriage hangs by a thread behind closed doors. By the end of this conversation, I was emotionally drained. Laura looked completely shattered. I told her I might sleep in the guest room for a while because I just need space. She nodded in understanding, fresh tears in her eyes. She asked softly if I needed anything, if she could do anything at all. I just shook my head. What I need, she can't give. I need this to have never happened. I'm writing this alone in the guest bedroom now. I haven't moved in here permanently or anything, but for tonight I just couldn't bear to lie next to her after knowing what I know. Our bed suddenly feels too crowded with all the hurt between us. I don't know what I'm going to do. My mind is a whirlwind of anger, hurt, and yes, still love. Because I do love her. That's what makes this so unbearable. If I hated her outright, maybe it'd be simpler. But I love the woman she was, or the woman I thought she was, and the life we built together. It's almost like someone died. The Laura I knew is gone, replaced by someone I don't fully recognize. One moment I'm thinking maybe somehow we can get past this with time and effort. The next moment, I'm overwhelmed by the betrayal and feel like I can never trust her again. The ground under my feet has cracked, and I'm terrified to take a step in any direction. All I know is I'm deeply wounded. I'm not sure time or apologies can easily heal this wound. I told her I needed time to think, and that's exactly what I'm going to do in the coming days. Think long and hard about whether this marriage can be saved and whether I even want to save it. Day 27. A firm decision. After several endless, sleepless nights, I've made a decision that I never imagined I would have to make. I told Laura I want a divorce. My mind is exhausted. But oddly, I feel a kind of resolute calm now that the decision is made. The days since Laura's confession have been intensely painful. I've been sleeping in the guest room, and we've maintained a polite, if sorrowful, facade in front of Emily. Behind closed doors, we oscillated between strained silence and emotional discussions. Laura continued to apologize and even tried to gently bring up the idea of counseling more than once. Each time, I asked for more time. I wasn't ready to give an answer until I was sure. I spent a lot of time thinking about what life would look like if I stayed. Could I ever truly forgive her? Would I ever be able to trust her when she says she's going to the store or when her phone buzzes at night? I imagined an alternate future where I agreed to work on the marriage. We'd go to therapy, she'd be an open book with her phone and whereabouts. Maybe things would eventually feel normal again. But in all those imaginings, there was a dark shadow of doubt that never went away. I realized I would likely become that paranoid, suspicious husband, always checking up on her, fearful it could happen again. I don't want to live like that. It would be miserable for both of us and certainly not healthy for Emily either. I also thought about my own self-respect. I know some marriages survive infidelity, and I don't judge anyone who chooses reconciliation. But for me, in my heart, I knew I would never look at Laura the same way. The trust is broken, and along with it, a huge piece of my love for her is just gone. Every time I look at her now, I see her with him, and it tears me apart. I can't live the rest of my life with that image haunting me. So last night, I sat down and wrote out a list of practical things: finances, living arrangements, custody considerations for Emily, as if I were already divorcing. It was a cold, logical exercise, but it helped me see that divorce is something we could handle civilly. We're both financially stable, and I know we'd both want what's best for our daughter. Michigan is a no-fault divorce state, which means I don't have to prove her affair to file or anything, and the fact that she cheated likely won't change how assets are divided or custody is decided. Knowing that the law wouldn't penalize her for what she did gave me pause. Part of me wanted her to face some consequence. But ultimately, I wasn't thinking about punishing her. I was thinking about saving myself. This morning, I woke up feeling oddly clear. It was as if my heart had decided while I slept, even if my brain was still catching up. I knew what I had to do. I asked Laura to talk after breakfast, once Emily had gone to school. We sat at that same kitchen table, both of us weary. She looked at me with anxious, puffy eyes, like she could sense what was coming. My voice was calm and quiet. I think I had cried out all my tears over the past week, and now I was just numb. I said, "I've given it a lot of thought, and I've made my decision." I saw her bracing herself, her hands gripping her coffee mug. I almost faltered seeing how small and scared she looked, but I continued, "I can't get past this, Laura." "I wish I could, but I can't. I don't think I can continue being married to you after what's happened." Even though she must have anticipated it, hearing it made her break down instantly. She covered her mouth and sobbed, "David, please." I felt tears in my own eyes, but I kept my composure. "I'm so sorry," I said, my voice shaking slightly. "I know this isn't what you want, but I have to be honest with myself. Every time I look at you, I remember what you did. It hurts so much, and I don't have it in me to work through that pain within this marriage." She reached out across the table as if to touch my hand, but stopped herself, seeing that I didn't reciprocate. "I know I caused this," she cried. "I was hoping so much you might find it in your heart to forgive me, but I understand. I hate it, but I understand." We both sat there crying softly for a moment. It's strange. It was a very emotional moment, yet also oddly civil. There was no shouting or name-calling, just two broken people accepting a painful reality. I told her I wasn't making this choice to punish her, but because I truly believe it's the only way for me to heal, and for us to possibly find some peace eventually. I also said that I want us to handle the divorce in the fairest, most respectful way possible, especially for Emily's sake. No matter what, we are both her parents, and we have to do right by her, I said. Laura nodded in agreement, tears streaming down her face. We talked for a long while about practical matters through our tears. We agreed we'll tell Emily together, gently, when the time is right. Probably once we have a clearer plan for how everything will work. We haven't told her anything yet. She's noticed some tension, I'm sure, but she doesn't know about the affair or the looming divorce. We both want to shield her from as much pain as possible. The thought of telling our daughter that mom and dad are splitting up makes me feel physically ill, but it has to be done, and done carefully. We also discussed living arrangements. For now, we're both in the house. We decided I will start looking for an apartment nearby, since I think it might be easier for me to move out than for her and Emily to. Emily's school and friends are in this neighborhood, and I don't want to uproot her life more than necessary. The idea of leaving my own home is heartbreaking, but it feels like the right thing to do for our child's stability. Laura actually offered through tears. If you want to keep the house, I'll go. I'll do whatever makes it easiest for you. I appreciated that, but I shook my head. No, Emily should stay in her home at least. It's enough that she'll have to deal with us living apart. Let's not make her change houses and rooms on top of that right now. We tentatively agreed that she would stay in the house with Emily, and I'd find a place not too far, so Emily can easily go back and forth. We haven't ironed out a schedule yet, but likely we'll share custody pretty evenly. Maybe alternate weeks or something along those lines. Neither of us can imagine not seeing our girl for long stretches, so we'll have to find a balance. One moment that was particularly hard. Laura, still crying, said, I don't want anything from you. If we're doing this, it's my fault, and I'll make sure you and Emily are okay. She was implying she wouldn't fight for more than a fair share of assets or support. It's ironic. Her betrayal is what's causing this, yet she's now being generous to a fault because of her guilt. I told her we'll split things fairly, that I'm not out to punish her financially or anything. We built this life together, and we'll dismantle it together as gracefully as we can. I also confessed something that I'd done in the heat of my hurt over the last few days. I told her that I confronted Jason. Yes, I did. One evening, I drove to the address of his workplace that I found online and waited until I saw him come out. I know it was impulsive and a bit crazy, but I needed to face him. I haven't written about it until now. A couple days ago, fueled by anger and needing some sort of direct action, I sought Jason out. When he walked out to the parking lot, I stepped in front of him. The shock on his face told me he recognized me immediately from the few times he and Laura had bumped into each other with me around in the past. What do you want? He asked, looking nervous. He's around my age, maybe a bit younger, and in that moment he looked utterly cowardly to me. All the rage and pain I'd been holding in just surged. I remember telling him, very low and cold, I know what you did with my wife. He started stammering something like, Listen, But I didn't let him finish. I saw red and grabbed him by the collar. I told him exactly what I thought of him. That he was a homewrecker. That he had no right to come into my life and destroy my family. He tried to twist it, saying something pathetic like, It takes two, man. I didn't force her. If your marriage was solid. He didn't get to finish that sentence because my fist collided with his face. I'm not proud of losing control, but at that moment it felt damn satisfying to shut him up. He staggered back, holding his jaw. He didn't even try to hit me back. He just looked scared. Maybe he's not a fighter, or maybe he knew he deserved it. He pleaded, Calm down, I'm sorry, okay? I'm sorry. Please, don't do this. People are watching. There were a few others in the parking lot. I stepped closer and said in a low voice, You should be more worried about something else. I know you have a wife. I had learned through some social media snooping and by probing Laura with a direct question that Jason was indeed married. The audacity of him stepping out on his own wife while helping wreck my marriage infuriated me. I continued, "If you ever come near Laura or my family again, I will tell your wife everything. In fact, I'm considering telling her regardless, because she deserves to know what kind of man she married." He turned pale and started shaking his head. "No, please. Listen, I know I messed up, but you don't want to ruin her life. This is between us." I gave him a look of pure disgust. "Between us? You destroyed us. Now you want to protect your wife from the same pain? Funny how that works." At that point, I walked away. I could have hit him again, but he wasn't worth another assault charge if he decided to call the police. Thankfully, he didn't, and no one intervened beyond distant stares. Anyway, I told Laura about this confrontation today after we discussed the divorce basics. I said I ran into Jason and let him know how I felt. I spared her the violent details, just said I told him to stay the hell away from us and that I knew he was married. Laura looked shocked and a bit worried. She asked quietly, "Did you tell his wife?" I responded, "I haven't yet, but I intend to." "She has a right to know what happened." Laura closed her eyes like that pained her, but she nodded. "I understand why you want to. I won't try to stop you," she said softly. I think part of her is mortified that this affair could explode into someone else's life now, but I'm resolute about it. As far as I'm concerned, I'm doing that woman, whoever she is, a favor. No one should be kept in the dark about being betrayed like I was. So yes, earlier today, I actually went through with it. I wrote an anonymous email to Jason's wife. I found her contact info through a bit of detective work on social media. I told her, as respectfully as possible, that I was sorry to inform her that her husband had an affair with my wife, and gave her the basic details and my contact if she needed confirmation. It was a hard email to write, dredging it all up again, but I felt it was the right thing to do. A part of me also wanted Jason to face consequences beyond a punch in my broken marriage. Maybe that's petty or vengeful, but it also felt just, I didn't tell Laura the details of that. I just mentioned I likely will, or did, inform Jason's wife. Laura simply whispered, "Okay," with a pained look, and we left it at that. I could see she felt even more guilt knowing another family might be hurt by this. By the end of our talk, we both were emotionally drained. Surprisingly, there was a tenderness between us amid the sadness. Before I left the table, I told her, "I don't hate you, Laura. I wish I could. Maybe it would be easier, but I don't. I just can't be with you. I'm too hurt." She broke down crying again and said, "I hate myself for what I did to you. I'll never forgive myself." In that moment, I did something maybe foolish. I hugged her, just briefly. She looked so small and broken, and despite everything, I did not revel in her misery. I shared it. We cried together for a final moment as a couple in that hug. Then I let go. It was like saying goodbye to the years of love we had. We regained composure and discussed that in a few days, once we have initial paperwork and I have a plan for moving out, we'll sit down with Emily to tell her. That will be the hardest conversation of all. We plan to frame it gently, that mom and dad both love her very much, but have decided to live apart because of grown-up problems that aren't her fault. We won't mention the affair to her, at least not now, and maybe not ever in detail. She doesn't need to carry that burden or anger toward her mother. As much as I'm hurt, Laura will always be Emily's mom, and I will not poison that relationship. So that's that. I feel devastated, but also firm in my choice. There's an odd sense of relief in having made the decision. The limbo of the last couple weeks was torture. Now at least I know what path I'm on, even if it's a painful one. I have no illusions. The coming months will be hard. But I'll face them one step at a time. For now, I'm just numb, running on autopilot. There's a long road ahead to untangle 13 years of life together. I never thought I'd be here, writing about divorcing the woman I once believed was my soulmate. Life can change so quickly and irreversibly in a matter of days. Tonight, I'm going to sleep back in the guest room. Laura and I agreed it's best to keep some distance as we prepare for this next phase. There's a strange peace in the house now. Quiet, somber, but peaceful, as if we both know our roles and are cooperating to end things civilly. In some way, that's the last act of love we can perform for each other. Ending our marriage with as much respect and dignity as possible. Day 45. The official start today. We took the official first steps of ending our marriage. We filed the paperwork for divorce. It's a day I'll never forget, and yet one I wish could fade from memory quickly. In the weeks since I told Laura my decision, things have been moving in a somber but steady fashion. I found a small 2-bedroom apartment about 10 minutes away from our house. It's not much, but it's close to Emily's school and has a second bedroom for when she stays over. I haven't moved in yet, but I signed the lease and started moving a few boxes of my things there. We decided I'll fully move after we talk to Emily, which is imminent now. Earlier this week, Laura and I carefully sat our daughter down in the living room, side by side, and gently explained that we are going to live apart. That conversation was, as expected, heart-wrenching. Emily is only 13, but she's perceptive. I think she'd sensed the sadness in the house lately. Still, hearing it confirmed made her burst into tears. We kept the explanation as simple and blame-free as possible. We told her that Mom and Dad have been having some grown-up problems and decided it would be better for us to live in separate homes. We emphasized over and over that she did nothing wrong and that we both love her more than anything. I fought back tears as I promised her I will always be her dad and always be there for her, even if I'm not living in the same house every day. Laura, through her own tears, told her that both homes are her homes and we're still a family, just in a different way. It felt like such a hollow comfort, but we tried. Emily was devastated, which is natural. She cried and asked if we're getting divorced. We said yes. She asked why, and we gave vague answers about not getting along, needing to be happier apart, etc. She's smart. She didn't seem fully satisfied with those answers, but she also didn't push too hard. At least not then. I suspect she might have guesses or will piece together more as she gets older. Maybe one day, when she's an adult, I'll feel it's appropriate to explain the real reason. But not now. Right now, my priority is to make her feel loved and secure, despite the upheaval. That night, she insisted on sleeping in our bed with both of us, like she used to when she was little and had a nightmare. It was bittersweet. The three of us curled up together one last time under the same roof. Emily cried herself to sleep between us. I think Laura and I silently cried a bit too, over her head, without the other noticing. In the morning, Emily seemed a tiny bit better after all the reassurance we gave her. Children are resilient, but I know this will leave a mark on her heart. We'll have to keep an eye on her, maybe get her a therapist who specializes in children of divorce if needed. After that, things proceeded in a practical blur. Laura and I sat down and divided up our assets on paper. Amazingly, there was no fighting over anything. We both listed what was fair. The house we decided to put up for sale eventually and split the equity, because neither of us can easily buy out the other right now, and I think both of us feel weird about one staying long-term in our house. But for at least the next few months, Laura and Emily will stay in it until it sells, so Emily's life stays consistent. I'll be in the apartment meanwhile. We split bank accounts, investments, even down to the books and furniture, amicably. It was surreal, dividing a life together into 2 parts. You take the living room couch, I'll take the bedroom set, that kind of thing. Like we were business partners dissolving a venture, except the venture was our marriage. In terms of custody, we agreed on joint custody, roughly 50-50th time split. Michigan law favors joint custody if both parents are decent, which we both are. We wrote up a rough schedule. I'll have Emily every other week and dinners twice a week on the weeks she's with her mom, at least until we adjust or she expresses different needs. We tried to think of everything to minimize disruption, keeping her in the same school, extracurriculars, etc., and coordinating holidays in a fair way. We actually worked together better in planning our divorce than we had in some aspects of our marriage. The irony isn't lost on me. Today, we went to the county court to file the divorce petition formally. We drove there together, quietly. The car ride was maybe 10 minutes, but it felt like an eternity of silence. Each of us lost in our thoughts, trying to steady ourselves for this finality. At the courthouse, we filed the necessary documents with the clerk. It was mostly just paperwork since we've agreed on terms. The clerk was a polite, middle-aged woman who processed everything without much emotion. Just another case file to her, I'm sure. For me, though, when I handed over the signed petition, it felt like my hand was made of lead. My wedding ring, which I haven't removed yet, gleamed on my finger as I signed the papers. It struck me that I'll eventually have to take it off. That realization hit me hard right there at the clerk's desk, and my hand shook a little. Laura noticed and gently touched my arm. "I'm here," she whispered, a sad irony in those words, since we were literally legally enacting a split. But I appreciated the gesture. We were both tearing up, but trying to hold it together in this public, bureaucratic setting. The clerk mentioned there's a mandatory 6-month waiting period for divorces with minor children in Michigan. We knew this, and we nodded. The earliest our divorce can be finalized by a judge is half a year from now. It's funny that waiting period is meant to ensure people are sure about ending their marriage, or maybe to allow reconciliation. But in our case, I think it's just a formality. My heart is already divorced from Laura, even if the law requires us to wait to make it official. Still, hearing 6 months gave me a twinge of something. Uncertainty? Hope? Dread? I'm not sure. Perhaps just the weight of how long this process will still loom before it's truly over on paper. We left the courthouse with copies of the filings in hand. The spring day was bright and warm, completely at odds with the heaviness in my chest. Outside, we paused on the steps. Laura looked at me and quietly said, "Thank you for being fair and for being here. This was awful, but I'm glad we handled it together." She was thanking me. Imagine that, thanking me for divorcing her civilly. But I understood what she meant. We've both heard horror stories of nasty divorces. We're determined not to be one of those, for our own sanity and for Emily. I just nodded and said, "We loved each other once. I think we owe it to ourselves and to that time to end this with decency." My voice was thick with emotion. She gave me a watery smile. On the drive back, she asked if I wanted to join her to pick up Emily from school and get ice cream together, as a sort of family outing to show unity. I declined gently. I needed some space after what we'd just done, and honestly, my heart couldn't handle playing happy family on this particular day. I told her I wasn't feeling well and that I'd see them tomorrow. She didn't press the issue. She understands. So now I'm at my nearly empty apartment, sitting on the floor, since I haven't moved my furniture yet, writing this. Today was the official beginning of the end. I feel a strange mix of sorrow and relief. The paperwork is filed, our plans are made. There's no more ambiguity about where we're headed, at least legally. Emotionally, of course, I'm still all over the place. Part of me still can't believe this is happening. Part of me is angry that one moment of feeling young, or whatever it was for her, led us to burn down 13 years of marriage. And part of me is just tired and wanting to fast forward through the next few months. But I know I have to live it out day by day. I'm dreading telling extended family and friends. So far, only a very few people know. I confided in my brother about the cheating. He was livid on my behalf and has been very supportive. Laura told her sister, who apparently gave her an earful but is also helping her cope. We plan to slowly tell others as needed. It's nobody's business what the reason is, so we agreed on a generic explanation of growing apart for most folks. I have mixed feelings about that. She knows her actions are the cause, yet I'm willing to shoulder a neutral reason publicly to keep things calm. Maybe that's gracious of me, or maybe I'm just avoiding drama. Probably both. Anyway, day 45 marks the official start of the divorce process. There's still a long way to go until it's finalized, but the wheels are in motion. I'm going to try to get some rest in my new place. It's quiet here, painfully quiet, but maybe I need that right now. Tomorrow, I'll focus on assembling some furniture and making this place livable for when I fully move in. Life is moving forward, whether I'm ready or not. Day 90. A new beginning. It's been about 3 months since we filed for divorce, and I've been living in my new apartment for several weeks now. To say life has changed would be an understatement. But I'm writing tonight with a cautious feeling that things might just be okay eventually. The first night after I moved out completely was the hardest. I sat in this unfamiliar living room, surrounded by half-unpacked boxes and bare walls, and just felt the weight of loneliness settle in. I missed the familiar creaks of our old house, the sound of Laura humming in the kitchen, even the soft patter of Emily's feet running down the hall. I missed home, because as much as this apartment is my space, it still doesn't fully feel like home, more like a temporary landing spot. But over the last few weeks, I've started to make it my own. I hung up some photos, mostly of Emily and me, and a few scenic shots from family trips. I put away most of the ones with all three of us. Those are too painful right now. I got a new couch delivered, arranged my books on a shelf, and stocked the fridge with my favorite foods. Small things, but they bring a sense of normalcy. The routine we planned for Emily is underway. She spends 1 week with me, 1 week with Laura, alternating. During my weeks, the apartment comes alive. Emily's a trooper. She's handling this as well as one could expect. That first week she stayed here, she was quiet and a bit withdrawn. She told me one night she doesn't like going back and forth. It makes her feel unsettled. I told her I understand, and that I'm proud of how strong she's being. We've tried to keep many routines the same. We do her homework together after dinner, just like before, and I still drive her to soccer practice. I even continue the silly bedtime ritual we had at the old house, a goofy goodnight handshake we invented when she was 5. When I did that the first time in the new place, she finally cracked a smile and giggled. It was the best sound I'd heard in a long time. Emily does ask a lot of questions, though. At 13, she's old enough to want deeper answers. A few weeks ago, she asked me directly, "Why don't you and Mom love each other anymore?" That one broke my heart. I told her as gently as possible. We do love each other, just not in the same way. Sometimes adults change how they feel. But Mom and I both love you so much, and that will never change. She was quiet for a bit and then asked, "Did one of you do something bad?" I paused, caught off guard by her perceptiveness. I wasn't prepared to handle that question. I finally said, "What do you mean?" She shrugged and mumbled, "I don't know, like something that made the other really upset." I considered my response very carefully. I won't lie to her, but I also won't dump adult problems on her shoulders. I answered, "Both Mom and I made mistakes and hurt each other's feelings in ways that are complicated. But those problems are between us. It's never just one thing or one person. What's important is we're going to be happier living separately and not arguing. You deserve to have parents who aren't unhappy or fighting." It felt like a weak answer, but she seemed to accept it for now and didn't probe further. She just nodded and hugged me. It's clear this whole thing has affected her, but I hope, that with time, she'll adjust. I'm trying to be the best dad I can during this transition. Reliable, loving, open to talk whenever she wants. I encourage her to share her feelings. She mostly confides in her diary, she keeps one too, and with her best friend. I did arrange for her to see the school counselor a couple times, which she said was, okay, I guess. Typical tween response, but at least it's an outlet. As for me and Laura, we keep communication to what's necessary for co-parenting and practical matters. It's been civil. We mostly text or email to coordinate schedules. Rarely do we call, and I haven't seen her face to face often, except brief exchanges when picking up or dropping off Emily. Those moments are polite, but a bit cold. We usually just say hi, maybe ask, "How are you doing?" and not much else beyond kid logistics. I think we both know we need space to heal individually. It still hurts to see her, though the hurt has dulled a bit. Interestingly, Laura has been respecting all the agreements fully. She even insisted on giving me slightly more than half the proceeds when we sold our second car, as a gesture of penance. I declined and split it evenly, but it shows she's carrying a lot of guilt still. I heard from Megan, her best friend who I ran into at the grocery store, that Laura's been going to therapy on her own. I'm glad. She probably needs it, and maybe it will help her not make the same mistakes in the future, whoever she's with. And what about Jason? Well, I have no direct contact with him, obviously, but I did hear through a mutual acquaintance from our college days that Jason's wife did receive my message. Apparently, it blew up his marriage too. They're separated now and she's filing for divorce. Part of me felt a grim satisfaction on hearing that. Consequences, you know? But another part of me just felt sorry for that woman and any kids they might have. I don't know if they have children. She didn't deserve this any more than I did. At least I did my part to ensure she wasn't kept in the dark. In an odd way, that gives me a bit of peace, like some moral balance has been restored. Emotionally, where am I? It's a mixed bag. I certainly feel better than I did on day 27 or day 45. The initial raw pain has subsided into a quieter ache. Some days I'm almost okay. I'll go to work, chat with coworkers, come home, make dinner, help Emily with homework, and think to myself, I can do this. I can handle this new life. Other days, especially the days when Emily isn't with me and I come home to an empty apartment, it hits me hard. Those are the nights when the silence is loud and my mind drifts to the past. I'll start remembering a happy memory, like our family trip to the Great Lakes last summer, all of us laughing on the beach. And then I have to stop myself because it hurts to remember. It's like mourning a death in some ways. The death of our marriage, the death of the life I thought I had. I haven't started dating or anything, nor do I want to anytime soon. I'm nowhere near ready for that. Honestly, the thought of trusting someone again in that way makes my stomach clench. I've focused more on myself and Emily. I started going to the gym a few times a week, something I neglected for years. It helps clear my head and I've gotten a bit fitter, which oddly boosts my confidence. I also reconnected with some old buddies. I go out maybe once a week to grab a beer or watch a game with friends, and that social time helps remind me there's life outside of my own drama. I even picked up an old hobby I used to love, playing guitar. When the nights are long and I can't sleep, I sometimes strum and let the music wash over me. It's cathartic. As for Laura, I only know bits and pieces. We keep it businesslike, but she did send me an email about a week ago that was more personal. In it, she expressed again how sorry she is for everything and that she respects how I've handled things. She said I'm a great father and thanked me for being civil with her and not turning Emily against her. She said I have every right to hate her, but she hopes that maybe in the future we can be on friendly terms, for Emily's sake. I haven't replied to that email yet. I will eventually, when I know what to say. It's hard to formulate a response. I don't hate her as a person. I hate what she did. And a part of me will probably always love the woman I spent so much of my life with, but that part is now firmly in the past. Being friends might be too much to ask, at least for a long time, but maybe one day we can be something like amicable co-parents who can attend the same school events without it being awkward. That's the goal, I suppose. Legally, everything's just waiting for the final divorce decree. We've done the agreements. Now it's just the clock ticking on the state's waiting period. By my calculation, the 6 months will be up around day 225 since filing. So, a few more months from now, we'll likely have a brief court hearing or at least submit final paperwork and then it'll be official. I'm both looking forward to and dreading that day. Forward because it's closure, dreading because it's so final. But day 90 finds me in a cautiously hopeful state. It's a new beginning of sorts. I'm living on my own for the first time in over a decade. I'm rediscovering who I am outside of being a husband. That's scary and sad, but also maybe a little liberating. I'm trying new routines, focusing on being a good dad, and taking care of myself physically and mentally. I even started seeing a therapist a month ago, just to have a space to process everything. That's been helpful too. It's helping me work through the betrayal and my self-doubt. I was plagued with questions like, was I not enough? How could I not see this coming? What if I had done this or that differently? The therapist is helping me understand that what happened was not my fault. It was a choice Laura made. I wasn't a perfect husband. No one's perfect. But I was a good one. And her affair was not because of some huge failing of mine. That has been important for me to accept for my own healing. So here's to small steps forward. The summer sun is out in Michigan. The days are long, and I am finding reasons to smile again. Whether it's a dumb joke with Emily, or a good workout high, or just the simple piece of a drama-free day. I know I'm not fully over it, and maybe I won't ever be 100% over it, but I'm moving on bit by bit. Day 180. Reflections 6 months have passed since that fateful day I confronted Laura, and roughly half a year since we officially began the divorce process. In some ways, it feels like a lifetime ago. In others, it's still fresh in my heart. But today, I find myself reflecting more with acceptance than with pain. First off, as of a couple weeks ago, the divorce is legally finalized. The mandatory waiting period ended, and the judge signed off on our settlement. I'm officially a divorced man now. When I got the notice in the mail, I sat alone at my kitchen table, turning the paper over in my hands. It felt heavy, that single sheet of paper. It declared the end of our marriage in dry, legal language. Surprisingly, I didn't cry. I had shed so many tears in the past months that maybe I was cried out. Instead, I felt a somber relief. It was done. We were done. I took off my wedding ring the day our divorce was finalized. I'd kept it on until then out of habit and perhaps a lingering denial. Removing it was emotional. I put it in a small box along with a few other mementos of our life together. Our wedding photo, a couple of anniversary cards she had given me over the years. I'm not throwing those away. They were real moments in time, and not all our years were bad. But I also can't have them out reminding me every day. Maybe one day I'll look at them with nostalgia rather than hurt, but for now, they're tucked away in the back of my closet. We also sold the old house. It happened faster than I expected. The market is pretty hot, and a nice family with young kids bought it. Last week, I helped Laura and Emily move the last of their things out. Standing in that empty living room where so much of our family life happened was poignant. I remembered bringing Emily home from the hospital to that house. Remembered Christmas mornings by the fireplace. Remembered the spot by the kitchen where Laura and I used to slow dance sometimes when a favorite song played on the radio. So many little memories embedded in those walls. Laura was feeling it too. I could see her eyes welling up as she ran a hand along the doorway one last time. We didn't need to exchange words. The look we gave each other said enough. We had some good times here. Despite everything, we shared that acknowledgement. Then we locked up and it was done. She and Emily have moved into a rented townhouse about 5 minutes from my apartment. She wanted to stay close by for obvious reasons. It's smaller than our house was, but cozy. Emily has decorated her new room at each place and seems to be doing okay. In fact, she likes that both mom and dad live near her school still. She gets 2 bedrooms to personalize, which she actually found kind of cool. Kids adapt in ways that surprise you. I think the hardest part for Emily has been holidays and events. We navigated Thanksgiving and Christmas by doing some joint things to keep it easy on her. For Christmas, for instance, I came over to the townhouse in the morning so we could all open gifts together. And then later, I went to my brother's while she stayed with Laura's family. It was awkward for me and Laura at first, but we put on smiles for Emily. And honestly, by the end, it was fine. We even shared a laugh watching Emily get overly excited about a present. It felt almost normal for a second, until I remembered it wasn't. Still, I was grateful we could do that for our daughter. In terms of my personal emotional journey, I'd say I've moved from grief to acceptance. The therapist says I've been going through the stages of grief as one does for any major loss. There was denial, early on when I tried to convince myself nothing was wrong. Anger, oh yes, plenty of that. Bargaining, wondering if I could have changed it or if we could fix it. Depression, the deep sadness that lingered for months. And now, acceptance. Acceptance, for me, doesn't mean I'm okay with what happened or that it doesn't hurt anymore. It means I acknowledge that this is my life now, and I can live it without constantly looking backward. I accept that my marriage ended, that Laura made a terrible choice, and that I made the right decision to let go. I accept that I'm single at 40, thereabouts, and co-parenting instead of living under one roof. And I accept that it's possible to be okay again, even happy, eventually, though it's a different happy than what I once envisioned. I've noticed that thoughts of the affair don't consume me like they used to. In the earlier months, I'd wake up and it was the first thing on my mind. I'd replay scenes, imagine them together, question every moment leading up to it. That has faded with time. It still stings if I dwell on it, but I don't dwell as often. It feels more like a bad dream from long ago, even though it was real. My quick temper, that flare of rage I felt at Jason and at the world, has cooled. I rarely think about Jason now. He's like a non-entity to me. Last I heard, his divorce is going through too, and he actually moved out of state. Good riddance. The anger toward Laura has largely cooled too, replaced by a more neutral feeling. I wouldn't say I've forgiven her in a grand sense. I'll probably always carry some hurt from her betrayal. But I don't wake up hating her. When we interact, it's generally cordial. We can have basic conversations about Emily's school or a repair. One of us remembered from the old house, and it's fine. There's a polite friendliness, the kind you'd have with a coworker. That's a lot better than bitter silence or venom, so I'll take it. I think she's still hoping for true friendship someday. She sent me a text on New Year's saying, "Happy New Year. I hope this year brings you peace and happiness. Thank you for being a good co-parent." I replied, "Happy New Year to you too. Here's to better days ahead." It was short, but it felt okay. She didn't overstep with emotional apologies or anything in that message, just focused on the future. I appreciated that. I've been focusing a lot on self-improvement these past months, maybe as a way to cope and rebuild my self-esteem. I continued hitting the gym regularly and I've lost weight and gained muscle. At 6 months post-divorce, I'm actually in the best shape I've been in a decade. I also took on new projects at work, partially to distract myself and partially to prove to myself that I can thrive. It paid off. I got a promotion last month. It felt amazing to have a big win after all the personal turmoil. I can genuinely say I feel more confident and secure in myself now than I did when I was married, oddly enough. Don't get me wrong, I would have preferred my marriage not fall apart. But since it did, I've had to rediscover me, and I'm finding that I like me. I'm a good father, a reliable friend, a hard worker. I made mistakes. I can see in hindsight I perhaps took Laura for granted in some small ways, like not doing as many romantic gestures or getting complacent. It doesn't excuse her actions, but I've learned from it. I know going forward, I'll be more attentive and communicative if I ever end up in another relationship. Speaking of which, I'm still not actively looking to date again, but I'll admit the thought has crossed my mind that maybe someday I'd like to meet someone new. The idea no longer feels impossible or like a betrayal of my past. It just feels like a natural thing that might happen when I'm truly ready. I haven't gone on any dates yet. There's a divorced dads group I occasionally attend, and a couple of the guys keep telling me I should try dating apps when I feel up for it. I usually laugh it off, but maybe in a few more months or a year I might. No rush, though. I want to be at a place where I'm not comparing any new person to Laura or carrying baggage that would hurt a new relationship. I'm getting there, but still need a bit more time, I think. Today, on this 180th day, I took a drive by myself out to a park by Lake Michigan. It's the tail end of autumn, and the trees are almost bare. The air had that crisp, cold bite foreshadowing winter. I sat on a bench and watched the gray waves on the lake. It was peaceful. I thought about the year so far, how it started so awfully and how far I've come. The journey from despair to something like contentment has been arduous, but sitting there, I felt proud of myself for surviving it. A memory popped into my head as I sat by the water, the day I married Laura. I remembered standing at the altar, looking into her eyes, absolutely certain I was the luckiest man alive and that we'd be together forever. That naive certainty is long gone, but I don't regret feeling it back then. We had good years, and we have a wonderful daughter from that union. For that, I can't be anything but grateful. Life, however, had other plans, and so here I am. 180 days since it all went to hell, and I've climbed out of that hell, 1 inch at a time. I still have scars, but they're healing. I feel calmer and wiser, just like I hoped I would. In a weird way, I think this whole ordeal has made me a better version of myself. Certainly a stronger one. I learned that I can withstand betrayal and heartbreak, that I can start over in my late 30s and be okay. The sun was setting as I left the park, a golden glow breaking through the clouds. I felt a small smile come to my face. I'm going to be all right. Day 365. A year later. 1 year ago today, I had a gut feeling that something was wrong in my marriage. That feeling turned out to be the tremor before the earthquake that changed my life. Today, 1 full year later, I woke up in my own apartment, made breakfast for my daughter, it's my week with her, and felt peaceful. A year of tumult, pain, and growth has led me here. This diary, or journal, whatever it is, has been my confidant through the hardest time I've ever faced. Rereading some of my early entries, I hardly recognize the shattered man I was. The man writing on day 365 is not the same as the man who wrote on day 1. And that's okay. Change is the only constant in life, as the saying goes. Sometimes change is forced upon us in the cruelest of ways, but we adapt. We survive. We even thrive if we give ourselves the chance. To commemorate this unofficial anniversary, I took the day off work and spent it with Emily. We did something new. We went to a local fair that's in town. We played ring toss, ate too much cotton candy, and I even won her a big stuffed panda in one of those rigged games. Pure dumb luck, but I'll take the credit. Her laughter and the way she slung her arm around me as we walked with the giant panda, those moments were pure joy. I realized that this is what I live for. Not a marriage, not a conventional life, but these genuine moments of connection and happiness, especially with my kid. Laura came by in the evening to pick up Emily. We're splitting this week a bit because of a school event. There was no tension, just a normal exchange. We chatted for a minute about the fair. Emily excitedly told her about the panda. Laura looked genuinely happy to see Emily happy. After Emily went to gather her things, Laura turned to me and said, "You seem really good, David." I paused, surprised, then nodded. "I think I am. Thanks." She gave a small, sad smile, maybe a tinge of regret in it, or maybe just nostalgia. "I'm glad," she said. "You deserve it." I appreciated that. "You seem to be doing okay too," I offered. She has her own place nicely set up, and she's been focusing on her job and on Emily. I think she's also seeing a counselor regularly. She nodded. I'm doing better. One day at a time, you know. There was an unspoken understanding in those words. She's had her own journey of dealing with the guilt and the aftermath. Before leaving, she said, "It's been a hell of a year, hasn't it?" Not in a light tone, but a reflective one. I simply replied, "Yeah, it has." We didn't rehash anything further. We didn't need to. In that simple exchange, I think we both acknowledged how far things have come. After they left, I stood by my window for a while, watching the sunset. It was a gorgeous pink and orange sky, the kind that often comes right after a stormy day. Fitting metaphor, I suppose. I thought about what the future might hold. For the first time, I feel like the future is unwritten in a hopeful way, not a scary way. I have goals again. Maybe buy a new house in a year or two, just for me and Emily's visits. Something truly mine. Travel a bit. Emily's been begging to go to Disney World. Maybe I'll make that happen next summer. And yes, perhaps even open my heart to someone new when the time feels right. I won't force it, but I won't shut myself off to the possibility either. In reflecting on this whole saga, I don't consider myself a victim anymore. I consider myself a survivor and maybe even a hero of my own story. Not a hero in the flashy sense, but in the sense that I faced something devastating, and I rescued myself from it. I protected my daughter from the worst of it, and remained as graceful as I could under the circumstances. If that's not a small kind of heroism, I don't know what is. Revenge, in the end, wasn't some dramatic act of retaliation. It was living through the pain and coming out stronger. It was ensuring the truth was known where it needed to be, in Jason's case, and holding my head high as I built a new life. There's a saying, the best revenge is living well. I truly understand that now. My revenge, if I even call it that, was to not let this break me. It was to take what was nearly a tragedy and turn it into an opportunity to become a better father, a better man. A year ago, I thought my life was ending. Today, I realize it was just a chapter that ended. New chapters lie ahead, and I'm ready to write them, whatever they may be. This will be my final entry in this diary. It began as a way to process shock and heartbreak, and it ends with a note of optimism and closure. I'm grateful to have had this outlet. It helped me stay sane on the craziest of days. 1 year later, the wound has largely scarred over. I won't ever forget what happened, but it no longer defines me. I'm David, a dad, an avid reader, a halfway decent guitar player, a project manager who enjoys his work, a man who's learning to smile again genuinely. I happen to be divorced, but that's just one fact about me, not the headline of my life. To anyone reading this, even if it's just future me looking back, life can surprise you in terrible ways, but you have the strength to surprise yourself in how you overcome. I know I did. Goodbye for now, dear diary. Here's to the road ahead, whatever it may bring. I'm confident that I'll handle it with the resilience and wisdom I've earned over the last 365 days.